Hi, Dr. Doug Graham here, author of the 80-10-10 diet, talking to you today about drug use, whether that's recreational or prescription, but especially keying in today on the idea of prescription drugs. There's two different attitudes that we want to look at here, and one of them is the idea of saving lives. I mean, I'm all in favor of saving lives. If you're a type 1 diabetic and you're going to die without insulin, this is the century to be alive, because before this century, you would have died, and it would have been a short, and I hate to say, sweet death, but you would have died. And nowadays, with insulin injections, we can keep you alive. You can live a long, long time using insulin as your partner. Or if your thyroid has failed and you need to take a thyroid supplementation, this century, you live. Anytime before this, you'd have died. And this type of a medical miracle is truly astonishing. The fact that you can get a surgery and have your arm put back on and feel almost no pain whatsoever through the entire procedure and the recovery, that we can beat the infections, that the techniques is such that they can beat the bleeding and actually reinstall an arm. I mean, this is massive stuff, and it's truly remarkable. It's truly brilliant. I think that it's something well worth noting, and I take my hat off to the medical establishment for being able to do such things. While on the other side, we're looking at drugs being one of the main causes of death amongst humans, of doctors being in the top 3 for causing death amongst people. We're looking at wrong procedures being done on people, the proper procedure being done on the wrong people, the wrong procedure done on the right person. We're looking at the level of mistakes that you send your samples off to the lab and they come back and you get false positives and false negatives and you have to make decisions, or they come back and you get somebody else's response came back and now they tell you you're going to die, and you go through this whole trauma. There's a lot of things still that can go wrong and that we have to really notice when the pharmaceutical industry came out in writing with their statement that they intended for all humans to be using medications, for all humans to be on drugs, and that the way to do that was to get children, to get the young generation on drugs, and then everyone would just accept it, and that would be that. Okay, it might take 20 or 30 years, but they'd have everyone hooked. This is when I started realizing that we weren't talking about just an option to take drugs to avoid a bit of pain or to prevent a bit of a potential for infection after an injury. We're talking about a dedicated effort to create a society of slaves. And I don't say that lightly, but when you have to have your drugs in order to function, you're enslaved to those drugs, and they could cost any price at that point because you'll pay it. We've seen the same thing happen to people who've become addicted to alcohol. They'll pay any price, or any price for street drugs, or any price for gasoline. We'll pay it. It really doesn't matter. There's things that we just must have, even with food. I mean, we'll pay what it costs. So what I'm looking at instead is a society potential for health freedom. A society of people who are so healthy that they are not only free thinking, but free from medical other than emergency life-death care. I mean, when you need to have it, it's great that the system is there, and I fully endorse the system, but I'm not recommending that we become enslaved to our drug use, that we start to become dependent upon our drug use in order to, as the expression goes, here, just take these drugs every day and you can live a normal life. I do not see anything normal in the lifestyle that resulted in a need for someone to take drugs every day. There's no model in nature for the consumption of drugs, and people don't need to do so either. Healthy people don't need drugs. So For the people who are saying to me, well, other than this or other than that, I'm perfectly healthy, I have to say, no, you're not perfectly healthy. It's not a judgment on my part, but you can't be perfectly healthy while you're taking drugs or even while you have a need for drugs. Let's get free of all that. Let's rise up above that. I'm encouraging people to live healthfully and have health be the natural outcome. Just like if you were raising sunflowers, if you take great care of them, you'll get great sunflowers. If you're raising puppy dogs, if you take great care of them, you'll get great puppy dogs. And the same thing happens to people. If we take great care of ourselves, we're going to have just fantastic, healthy, free individuals, and that's what we're looking for. This is Dr. Doug Graham, encouraging you to go to health.